This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Thousands of people evicted at Morata 1 in the nation's capital. Commissioner Manning says 3 disciplinary forces to work together to reduce the criminal activities. And government to invest in state enterprise, Kumul Agriculture. Good evening, you're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. Thousands of people have been evicted today at Morata 1 in the nation's capital. Armed policemen were on ground with backhoes conducting the eviction process. At least 3 people were reported to be injured during the eviction process.
Despite the NCD governor's efforts to hold back the eviction based on humanitarian grounds, the eviction process pushed through today. People were left uncertain as to where and what to do, as they stood hoping to negotiate with the landowner or the police in this matter. Things turned out to be violent. The residents claimed that they were not given enough time to remove their belongings from their homes before they got demolished. Wendy Fuame, a widow and a mother of 5 who lived on the land for more than 20 years, remains disheartened with so many uncertainties of what she will do next.
I don't have any hope. I no have where to go. Because me no want to work in class where me can kiss more picking in move from here na go na find one place go rent na settle me yet. So I don't have any way to go. So me feeling Muslim, this is way but me stop na. Me but dialogue and so. This like send them come up here. Me feeling Muslim, me must blame part as a role as a father, me must face him.
Spokesperson Alex Jaffa expressed disappointment towards the Lands Department on the process and procedures involved in obtaining the land title.
If an occupant goes and occupy a state land, you will give a notice. And then second, you will go and remove it. You're not doing that. And then you let the occupant sitting on a particular a portion for some 10, 20 years, and then you go back again and give it to a developer and then comes and then do eviction. That's not good. You accepted the legislative power that you have. And then you don't just give a blind eye and then the people will go and put improvements. That is one of the things that the Department of Lands is not conforming to the standard emphasized in terms of the Lands Act.
Jaffa then made a call to the Prime Minister, James Marape, recalling his statement on no more evictions going forward. Roads leading into Morata 1 and 2 were blocked off by police.
I don't have a hope.
Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
In a press conference today at the police headquarters in Port Moresby, Police Commissioner David Manning said the 3 disciplinary forces will work together within the next few weeks to reduce the criminal activities in the city. He said their aim now is to increase the presence of the disciplinary forces in the hotspot areas around the city.
The police commissioner, with his assistant commissioner, highlighted the challenges faced in the city in terms of criminal activities. Commissioner Manning says they are aware of the challenges faced in the city and they take note of the Prime Minister's call during the Parliament session yesterday regarding the ethnic clash at Erima. He says they are embarking on a revised method of policing in the city, and this will set a strategy that can be easily and equally applied to other centers around the country when it comes to law and order issues.
I will be requesting to the CDF as well as the CS Commissioner to provide additional support in order for us to adequately address the challenges that the police are currently facing in the city. What that means for our residents in the city is that there will be a greater presence, an increased presence of servicemen and women from all 3 discipline forces. And it's not just a matter of just building numbers. There will be specific targets that will maximize, and through those targets there'll be taskings obviously that will maximize the increased support to policing the city.
Commissioner Manning explains that they have done investigations and the clash at Erima is actually a drug deal gone wrong, which instigated the clash. Following that, Manning explains the processes to be followed to reduce the crimes faced in the city.
With all the officers concerned, we will be embarking on a more deliberate intervention into dealing with these growing challenges in the city. I've placed acting DC Specialist Operations, Mr. Yamasomi, to lead this intervention, and of course will be assisting Mr. Wagambi in dealing with the challenges in the city.
The Assistant Police Commissioner, Anthony Wagambi Jr., is urging the communities to work together with them to identify the perpetrators.
We'll continue for the Metropolitan Command, will continue business as usual to ensure that the police stations are running, to ensure that complaints are being attended to, and any other policing aspects. At the same time, we will support and give manpower to the special operations which will be taking place. We'll be assisting Deputy Commissioner Special Operations because we are here to achieve the same goal.
Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
Minister for Information and Communication Technology, Timothy Masiu, highlighted the ministry's government plan for the next 24 months. He made his ministerial statement today during the Parliament sitting.
Functions such as cybercrime.
While seeking leave on the floor of Parliament to address his ministerial statement was Minister for Information and Communication Technology, Timothy Masiu. The ICT minister was proud to announce the government plans on revolutionizing the ICT sector to digital sector as a stand-alone sector.
For the next 5 years between 2023 to 2027, I intend to complete the digital transformation reform by digitizing and digitalizing the public service and by proposing a full suite of enabling legislation to institutionalize the new digital sector in Papua New Guinea.
The digital sector has subsectors.
Under this set of reforms, the ICT sector will now be known as the digital sector. The digital sector will no longer sit under the infrastructure sector. The digital sector will now be a standalone sector with the creation of the following subsectors. 1, digital infrastructure. 2, digital government. 3, digital skills. 4, digital safety and cybersecurity. 5, digital financial inclusiveness. And 6, innovation and entrepreneurship.
Minister Masiu further announced the new reforms will be executed to transform the country's digital capacity. In addition, Minister Masiu said the ministries of ICT and internal securities are collaborating to ensure they heighten their work network with social media companies.
Especially with the Meta, formerly known as Facebook, Regional Public Policy Team. We want areas of concern such as misinformation, cyber safety, and literacy to be moderated so that they meet Papua New Guinea's development agenda. As part of our cyber efforts, the National Cyber Coordination Center, N3C, is one such intervention where a single technology platform at PNG's National Cybersecurity Center, NCSC, is being used, and various national functions such as cybercrime, censorship, defense, can leverage and better national coordinate monitoring and incident response.
Involving in agricultural activities is a way forward for all citizens should they want to see changes in the community. Prime Minister James Marape is encouraging citizens to tap into different farming activities that will help bring self-sustainability.
Opposition leader Joseph Lelang, in a question without notice during the parliament sitting today, has asked the government whether they have any plans and solutions to help citizens in these challenging times. Mr. Lelang directed this question to the Prime Minister due to current inflation that has been affecting Papua New Guineans.
And the Prime Minister confirmed if the government has put in place social welfare programs, policies and strategies to assist in minimizing the hardships on our struggling families. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
In response, Prime Minister James Marape says the government does not have all the answers to current situations faced in the country and urges citizens to get involved in farming activities that will benefit them.
Stable place. Mi go ran lo Japan, mi go ran lo America, mi go ran lo UK, mi ran lo Australia to buy coffee for me. Buy cacao for me, buy copra for me. Diwai mi bled la katim na buy la salim. Fish, mi bled mas partner. National Fisheries Authority, backside lo good lo work lo. Fisheries Minister before setting example lo manus artisan fishery lo buy mogra fish lo Loringa Bay area. Also period. There's no money in oil and gas. All money is a camouflage to make our people go to the lazy pathway. Imagining that we will become overnight millionaires.
The Prime Minister further states that our country has many resources which people should make use of to sustain their own lives, highlighting that agriculture is the way to go.
Kam Valley sleep nothing, Ramu Valley sleep nothing, Civic Plain sleep nothing. No got plenty population lab, road got business. Connecting Molingli artery roads and pulling power. Our people go back to productive engagements. We want our people to go to SME, and if you do not know where to start in SME, I point to agriculture, I point to the rural-based economies, that business opportunity that is there. Government business will link your production to market, that is government business. Our people go back to the production areas. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Jim John, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. In the news ahead, a new board for Hagen Hospital, EU SME Trade Expo, and government support on capital investment. Those stories and more after the break. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Minister for State Enterprises William Duma has announced that plans on reforming the board and management team of Kumul Agriculture will be possible under the stewardship of Prime Minister James Marape. He made a statement in response to a question directed to him by the member for Kundiawa Gembog, Mugua Dilu, today during the Parliament session. In today's Parliament sitting, all members of Parliament arrived at the chambers, greeting each other and taking their seats. Order of business commenced. Several members of Parliament took a stand to have their say on the floor of Parliament regarding issues of concerns. One of them was member for Kundiawa Gembog, Muguna Dilu, who raised this question without notice to the State Enterprises Minister William Duma. Member Dilu questioned the status of the Kumul Agriculture Limited. This is a state-owned company dedicated to agriculture, incorporated and mandated in 2017.
My question to the SOE Minister is related to the much talked about proposed Kumul Agriculture back then. What is the status of the Kumul Agriculture? Does the SOE Minister have plans to reinstitute reforms and give life to the entity?
Minister Duma gave his response.
Kumul Agriculture, when it was initially established by the government, was intended to participate in many of our large-scale agriculture investments, possibly in partnership with good foreign investors who wanted to invest in our large-scale agriculture sector. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as most of us would be aware, many of the investors who want to invest in this country would like to see at least some form of participation by the national government so that it gives some sort of security and assurance to the investors that they have the national government's involvement, just like we have investments by the government through Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited and Kumul Mineral Holdings in the resource sector. So that was the intention behind the government's decision to establish Kumul Agriculture with the initial funding allocation.
Duma assured the MP that there will be a restructure of the current management and board and funding will be allocated.
Kumul Agriculture was able to make investments in the agriculture sector, especially in the Sepik region as well as in Central Province, where Kumul Agriculture invested some money and helped the Central Provincial Government buy equity in the piggery project that is located on the fringes of NCDC. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, unfortunately, along the way, during the change of ministries and change of management, Kumul Agriculture, in a way, lost its way. But our Prime Minister, Mr. Marape, has seen the potential in this important sector, and he has directed my ministry to revive Kumul Agriculture, and plans are being made to overhaul the board and the management teams with a view to adding some funding to Kumul Agriculture to participate in some of those important agriculture sector.
On the first day of the second parliament sitting after the election, a question without notice by the governor for Western Highlands Province, Wairapa, was directed to the Minister for Health, Dr. Lino Tom. Governor Rapa highlighted that the Mount Hagen Hospital Board has been operating for months without a board, and that needs addressing.
Here now.
Governor for Western Highlands Province, Wairapa, asked for clarifications from the Minister for Health, Dr. Lino Tom, on the processes involved in the appointments of the board for provincial health authorities. He said this is due to the fact that Mount Hagen Hospital has been without a board for months.
On the newspaper and medias, Mount Hagen Hospital now hasn't got a board in place. And it's a very, very important hospital. And after these election-related problems, Hagen is becoming so populated. And the Southern Islands, Ella and Wabek and Hagen, we have so many people in Hagen, and our hospital is becoming too crowded. So I would like to ask the Minister, we do not have a board for probably over a year now, hospital board. So is that my job to replace a new board, or I will have to come through your office we have a board? And it's very important that we need to have a board in place for the Mount Hagen Hospital.
In response, Minister Tom says there are protocols in place and they will have to write to the Department of Health, and his office will respond to this accordingly.
Within the plan of the national government to build capacity at all our hospitals throughout the country. And I think Mount Hagen General Hospital is actually one of those hospitals listed. That's in regards to the comment he made earlier. But in regards to the new hospital, in regards to the hospital board, I think there's a process there. Governor, I think there's a process there. If the current term of the current board, if the term of the current board is actually expired, I think there's a process there. You need to write to the health department, and I will look into it. I think I gave reassurance to some of the leaders from Western Islands who've actually raised it on the corridors of Parliament, that I will look into it as a matter of urgency, and we will try and appoint a new board.
Dr. Tom adds that this applies to all the other provincial health authorities, and they must to take note of and follow the right procedures and protocols that are in place. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
In yesterday's Parliament sitting, the member for Rabaul Open, Graham Pinia Rumet, asked the Minister for Lands on the resettlement policy framework on the people who were affected by disasters. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Lands and Physical Planning, John Rosso, responded saying there is a possibility for these people to get land titles.
If people living in allocated...
Member for Rabaul Open raised a concern on the floor of Parliament regarding the land titles under the resettlement policy framework. He questioned if people who were relocated during the 1994 volcanic eruption are eligible to acquire land titles in their area of resettlement.
Honorable Minister, please clarify if there is an existing resettlement policy captured under PNG's Disaster Management Act. Honorable Minister, could you further advise if people living in allocated and subdivided land, disaster-related, are eligible to obtain land titles?
Minister for Lands and Physical Policy and Urbanization, John Rosso, says that is a possibility.
Resettlement issues, especially in the disaster area after the Rabaul volcanoes, was people from Rabaul were sent up to Sikut and areas up in the behind Kokopo for resettlement. The resettlement was done under the Kokopo Restoration Authority to settle people there. And in that sense, they subdivided, planned the areas for resettlement. But the thing is, when they ended up with the subdivisions, no one followed past and issued land titles to them. There is nothing stopping your authority or your district from working closely with the Lands Department to ensure that the people of the resettled areas get the relevant titles that they deserve. They are resettled, the subdivisions and portions are done already. All it needs is for your district to work closely with the Lands Department, and we will help you issue titles for those people.
He further adds that the district can work closely with these people and the Department of Lands will assist them. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
Detecting corruption requires a strong whistleblower protection system that enables employees in the private sector to report corruption. The United Nations Development Programme hosted a workshop on preventing and countering corruption in Papua New Guinea recently, jointly funded by the European Union in conjunction with the Department of Justice and Attorney General and the Business Council of PNG.
This important workshop on addressing corruption in the private sector follows a similar workshop hosted by UNDP in addressing corrupt practices within the public sector in PNG. It was emphasized at the workshop that the fight against corruption is not straightforward. It may involve challenges. Hence, this workshop was crucial in highlighting why whistleblower is a powerful instrument to expose corrupt activities and dealings in the workplace, both in the private and public sectors. This was strongly alluded to by the chair of the country's Independent Commission Against Corruption, Thomas Elu. The participants were told to effectively address corruption in order to create a conducive business and investment climate in order to leverage both domestic and foreign investments. This was cited by the First Secretary and Head of Cooperation of the European Delegation to PNG, Dr. Hans Lambrecht. UNDP officer in charge, Edward Vakik, further explained that this training workshop enables participants to gain knowledge of international standards and best practices related to whistleblower protection and ways to report wrongdoings within the private sector. This training workshop on the Whistleblower Act 2020 was attended by representatives from the private sector, the Business Council of PNG, Chamber of Commerce, and Transparency International. This workshop is one of 3 trainings related to the implementation of the Whistleblower Act 2020. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Kalopa Fish Farm was first established in 2010 through a Holy community initiative. The local people of Komia village in Upper Mendi contributed 20 kina each towards the initial fish project. 12 years on, the Kalopa Fish Farm is now supplying fresh fish to customers across the country and fingerlings to emerging fish farmers throughout the Highlands region.
Meet Andrew. He is an enthusiastic fish farmer who initiated the Kalopa Fish Farm in the Upper Mendi local level government area in the Southern Highlands province. He is a participant in the 3rd EU PNG Business Trade and Investment Conference in Port Moresby. He breeds rainbow trouts and tropical salmons in his farm. He explained the initial idea to involve his local community in fish farming.
Started coming into production, or actually construction stage, in 2009 and 10. And in 2010 we started to actually register as a cooperative society. So I came up with the idea and I engaged with the community. And so we had a community who is the owner of this project, and we encourage a lot of community to be financial members of this cooperative society. So each member of the community, they contributed 20 kina each. So they became part of the financing component of this project. So
the Kalopa Fish Farm is about 200 meters in length and holds up to 1.5 million matured fish. Since it was a community-initiated project, TP also highlighted community approaches that his fish farm is currently undertaking.
And the return of the farm here, we are supporting the social services at our community level. We basically financing the school fee program for those who can't really support themselves, like orphanage in the community, those unfortunate who are affected by HIV and AIDS or by death. The families, they can't support, the kids, they're wandering around, and we support them with the minimal support we are giving to kids we can support in school fees. And also we do medical cover as well for those who have got big medical expenses. We are also supporting them as well. So that's basically what we are doing. And bigger picture, we like to promote a clean and safer community through establishing a good home ownership scheme for the community.
This is his message to aspiring fish farmers and every other business-minded person. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Member for Nawai District on the floor of Parliament asked Prime Minister James Marape and ministers responsible for various ministries in agriculture sector what they can all do to help support farmers in his electorate. He said the untapped district has the potential to generate income from various agricultural areas but needs government support and interventions.
While districts in the country share similar sentiments when it comes to agriculture sector, member for Nawai, Theo Pelgen, says while having enough untapped organic produce and livestock resources in the district, oil palm, coffee and livestock, he's asking the government to help assist farmers. He says the district has the potential to supply the increasing demand of organically cultivated fresh produce and livestock.
How can we better equip all our districts that have the potential of aggressively cultivate cash crops such as coffee, cocoa, copra, oil palm, livestock to boost the yield?
In response, Prime Minister James Marape says all districts in the province have something to give back to the country, let alone provide the potential to supply the country its various agriculture needs. Marape says all district leaders need to make use of the government's District Service Improvement Program.
Every district, by way of our allocation trend, is entitled to what we label as District Services Improvement Program. In the District Services Improvement Program, 10% is allocated for the planning and the administrative component, of which the districts, it is instance Nawai or any district for that matter, could plan properly.
Marape adds that while 80% of the population are in rural parts of the country, it is in these areas that has the potential to harness quality agricultural products that is still untapped. He said the connectivity of the roads within the districts and provinces is also something the government has been working on with its Connect PNG project so that farmers and businesses can bring their produce to and from to the markets.
You feel that it goes to where a cacao potential lies, or a copra potential lies, or a coffee potential lies, or vanilla, or anything for that matter, it is in your interest to liaise with national planning through a submission.
He also highlighted that while the people are used to working the land, government interventions and support can help people tap into different agricultural sectors such as coffee, oil palm and others to generate more income. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NAS Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2765 $, $0.4383 Australian dollars, $0.2779 euro, 39.96 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed lower, copra closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories when we return. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Madang Governor Ramsey Pariwa, during the swearing-in ceremony of provincial members into the Provincial Assembly, has made a call for all government stakeholders to work in unity for effective service delivery in the province. Governor Pariwa reiterated on this point recently.
The Madang governor placed emphasis on the importance of all stakeholders working together to serve the best interest of the province to see tangible development take place.
Call for cooperation with all the MPs, my 6 member of parliaments from Bogya, Sumkar, Raikos, Madang, Open, Usunok Bundi and Middle Ramo. And then I call for unity, that we are going to work together. And also I call on the public servants to work together with the leaders. We're going to work together. Yesterday is gone, we are today now, and we are going to work together to see what's going to happen tomorrow.
Governor Pariwa highlighted some coexisting issues within the administration that is working to resolve at the moment.
Fixing my administration, there are some problems in the functions of the administration and relationship between the administration, the public servants and the leaders, which I'm looking into it, and we're going to have it ironed out. And then we'll see how we are going to work together. And I think the spirit is there already. The leaders have pledged their support. The public servants have also pledged their support.
Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
A 3-day financial literacy training by number 1 Super to National AIDS Council Secretariat staff ended with a presentation of certificates to the participants. A total of 11 staff received their certificates of financial literacy this morning.
In a small yet significant event, a group of staff from the National AIDS Council Secretariat gathered in their office in Port Moresby to get their certificates from the number 1 Super Limited after attending a training session. A total of 11 staff at the National AIDS Council Secretariat received their financial literacy training certificates. This was basically to help them in terms of savings after ending their formal employment. Acting Director for National AIDS Council Secretariat, Tony Lupiwa, thanked number 1 Super for the opportunity given to his team.
Number 1 Super has helped us save something, and that financial literacy training that was given to us by number 1 Super is something that was long overdue.
He further says there must be some form of saving cultures which must be applied by the working class and not to live on a fortnightly basis. Deputy Chief Executive Officer for Number One Super Limited, Vere Arava, explained the importance of this financial training.
Probably the most important financial literacy training that we could ever have. You see, in life, there are three types of people. One plaman and he has knowledge, but he has not applied the knowledge. And one type of person. The other person maybe one plus something. He start nothing that's all. He just lives a day at a time. He has no knowledge. Then there is the other third person, which got sabe, and he applies that knowledge.
The program ended with the presentation of the financial literacy training certificates to the next staff. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The PNG Pukpuk squad to the Oceania Rugby Men's Championship announced their 30-man squad earlier this week. Players in the squad were selected from various parts of the country after the third round of the National Provincial Championship that was held last week in Port Moresby. The squad is as follows. In the top 10, Jordan Seladi, Tony Sipa, Ezekiel Dauko. In the top 20, Jonah Tokiong, Jaran Pitan, Ron Butler. And wrapping up on the top 30 is Kenneth Vagi, Elias Patala, and Aiden Toa. The Oceania Rugby 15th Championship will be hosted in Port Moresby from the 19th to 27th of October 2022. The Santos PNG Orchids left for England on England today in preparation for the Women's Rugby League World Cup, which kicks off on Monday, the 1st of November. In England, the Santos PNG Orchids will conduct their pre-tournament training and will play a warm-up match against the English women's grand finalists, York City Knights, on Thursday, 20th October.
The Santos PNG Orchids, after being based in Australia for several weeks, left today to travel to England for the Women's Rugby League World Cup. Orchids, after grouped in Pool A, they played against Canada, Brazil and England. With players equally selected from Australian NRL and PNG, the team will have the opportunity to play a trial match against York, which will be seen as a good indicator on how well they can take on board the finer details that are vital to performing on an international stage. For the team, individual performances against York will be crucial for team selections in their first two matches against Canada and Brazil. Santos PNG Orchids chairlady, Ms. Okaro Yogi, who thanked the PNG NRL Board Committee, has wished the team all the very best as they prepare to take their place amongst other nations at this year's Rugby League World Cup tournament in England. Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
As both our national men's and women's rugby league teams look forward to representing Papua New Guinea at this year's Rugby League World Cup, the tournament is only 3 days away before the kickoff. EMTV is the exclusive broadcaster and will be televising the games live and free to air. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Titled Champions of the 2022 Melanesian Spearhead Group Cup, the PNG couples will now appear in lead-up confrontations in the Melanesian region in preparations for the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup. This announcement was made by PNG Football Association President John Capinato during the official welcome ceremony at the Sir John Guy Stadium.
Crown champions of the 2022 MSG PM's Cup, the PNG couples will now focus more closely on their lead-up fixtures, competing against Melanesian campaigners to secure a spot in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. One of the fixtures that has been sanctioned by PNG Football Association, the PNG government and the Oceania Football Confederation is the MSG PM's Cup. The decision as to whether the MSG Cup will be a biannual or annual tournament is still pending. This was emphasized by PNG FA President John Capinato.
Also through the collaboration of PNG government, through Prime Minister's Office, MSG Secretary Office, PNG Sports Foundation, in collaboration with the OFC, has made it possible that this MSG Cup will have come to be revived back, so that each countries can go and play. The tournament is going to be probably an annual tournament or biannual, we just do not know. But it sets a good forward planning for not only PNG, but all the countries throughout the Oceania to prepare themselves, both young and experienced players, to play on this platform.
The MSG Cup will also stand as a platform where young talents will be harnessed and to be identified to participate in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. President Capinato is challenging the MSG Cup champions to vie for a spot in the 2026 FIFA World Cup and encourage the players to dedicate themselves to achieving it.
We are now putting in strategizing our plan for 2026 World Cup. Some of us work behind the scene to try and get our players to the next platform. The next platform that is coming in 2024 is the professional league, something that we all dream about. And I know that PNG, my vision, my aim for football is to get into World Cup in 2026.
Capinato went on to add that the MSG Cup victory achieved by the couple squad is something that he will cherish as the reigning president of the PNG Football Association. Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
Now we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, possible inland brief showers and thunderstorms tonight, but mostly fine. Daru, partly cloudy and windy. Kerema, patchy drizzles, then fine, partly cloudy. Alatau, mostly fine, partly cloudy with possible morning showers. Popondetta, patchy drizzle, then partly cloudy morning.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Wednesday, the 12th of October, 2022. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.